How to write songs using chords. Whether you've never written a song before or you're an old hand at it, this video should help you think about chord progressions in a new way. I'll be talking about the kind of songwriting you do when you want to express something authentic about yourself, communicate a feeling, go on a creative journey. This isn't so much the kind of video that talks about a formula for writing hit songs, say, not that there's anything wrong with that. In fact, my feelings on theory, scales, key is who cares? If you don't know musical theory, don't learn it. And if you already know it, put it out of your mind, at least insofar as you're creating your progression. The reason you want to write songs is because you love music. You love great music, in fact, and you have great taste. The reason you have great taste is because you have a great ear, and your great ear is the secret weapon to writing great songs. Now, ironically, because of your excellent ear, the first few songs you write will not sound good enough to you, but it's important not to give up. The very thing making your first attempts not sound amazing, your ear, is what's going to get you through. It is the key to writing great progressions, at least according to my method. Okay, so here's my grand method for writing chord progressions. Mash a bunch of chords together and listen. Your fabulous ear is what's going to make your work sparkle and make you sound like no one else. Chords are groups of notes played more or less simultaneously, and your only homework is, if you don't already know the basic shapes of the chords on whatever instrument you play, you're going to have to learn them. These are your basic major chords on a guitar. And the minor chords are You can look up more rare and interesting chords as needed, and you can even create your own totally brand new chords. So the universe of potential chords is basically infinite. Just going to write down universe of chords. Could be lyrics in the future. Like all forms of human communication, your progression should follow 3-act structure, also known as the hero's journey or the story circle. If that sounds complicated, it isn't. You already know this because it's the basic rhythm of human life. Beginning, middle, end. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Do, re, mi. Baby, you and me, girl. So, beginning of a chord progression. You start somewhere. Any chord you like. In the middle, you go somewhere else. The middle might just be one chord, or it might be many, depending on how long a progression you're making. The mythologist Joseph Campbell might call this part of the progression the journey to the underworld. Wherever you started, you want to go somewhere strange and exotic now. For the end of the progression, you come back to where you started, having changed. This is a fundamental part of the hero's journey, and it's a fundamental part of our everyday learning and growing. So you start someplace, you go someplace strange, you come back to that first place having changed. In a chord progression, we call this ending resolving. You are free to start with whatever chord you want. You should go somewhere as crazy as possible, but resolving the progression, you have much less choice, because depending on where you started and where you went, only 1 or 2 chords are going to be able to provide that satisfying resolution. And what do we mean by resolution? It's just the chord that makes you feel like, satisfying. It was all leading up to there, and I got what I wanted. One way of looking at chord progressions is that they are the journey by which chords resolve. Consider how Paul McCartney resolves F sharp minor into E in the song Let Me Roll It. Very simple, right? So he's using that riff, which is actually composed of 2 chords, this and this, to basically go. So that resolves. The E, in this case, satisfies the progression. In the case of Let Me Roll It, the verse is one progression, and then the chorus is another progression. What if instead of going to E, Paul had tried to resolve on G? you can hear how that G doesn't resolve. This is now something going somewhere. So I took that in a little different direction and it resolved on G. But it took a longer journey to get there. The crux of the matter is you can start anywhere you like and most any chords can be a chord progression. It just all depends on how you stick that landing. So ideally I would have done this as like a live stream and had people suggest chords. In order to simulate randomness, let's try some words. So what about the phrase bad dad? Obviously contains chords, B, A, D, D, A, D. So could we make a progression out of just those? So it's B, A, D, and then D, A, D. So the whole song might go like this. Let's take a little journey to try to drive this point home. So in order to demonstrate how I might write a chord progression, I'm going to try to be inspired by things I see just every day going for a walk. Normally, this doesn't have to be a part of your songwriting process, because you won't be making a video about writing songs. Now, if only I could find some chords. You can go with F, D, C. Now, in terms of subject matter for the song, it would be wonderful to come across some sort of huge, large-scale, inspiring, work of art that would just, oh my gosh, a rock. Okay, so now we know our song is going to be about a rock. Ideally with this video I'd like to convince you of two things. Number one, that the barrier to entry to songwriting is very low. It can be very, very simple and very easy. Easy as 1, 2, 3. Although it can get very complex from there. Man, I should have picked a more inspiring looking stone. So, we did our groundwork. We went out into the world in search of inspiration. Now we just have to write the song. So, F, D, C. I suppose that could work. But let's keep in mind, we're just listening to a sign from a building that was intended for firemen to hook up their hoses, I think. FDC. I don't totally like how that D resolves into C, so I'm going to change the D to D minor 7 and see what that sounds like. A little sweeter, a little more soothing. I'm going to try joining two run-throughs of our F, D minor 7, C progressions with B7 to give it a little bit of edge and tension and see how that sounds. And so when we want to end that song or that progression, it resolves on F, which of course is where it started. And hopefully the second time you hear that F, or it's the 8th time or the 10th time, but the last time you hear the F, it should strike your ear a little bit differently than the first time we heard that F. And that's the magic of the progression, the journey to the F, from F to F. See if I can get those cool lights in the guitar's reflection. Nope, substance over style. Walking right with me, we'll go on a little journey to a universe of chords. We'll go on a little journey to the universe of chords. Not the greatest lyrics, but we'll write some better ones in a future video where we explore lyric writing. So, to sum up, start your song wherever you like. Go somewhere as far out as you can manage, but still be able to bring it all back home. The important part is bringing it back home. When you write a progression, you're starting somewhere, you're going somewhere, and you're bringing it all back home. You are enacting in miniature life itself. That's why it's so affirming when a progression takes off. That's why progressions speak to us. I think probably because we, as human beings, are born, we live, and we die. 3-act structure makes sense to us, including in our songs. If you have questions about any of this, please feel free to ask questions in the comments. If you were inspired to write a progression by this, please let me know in the comments. If you're watching this video in the future, probably I made more videos about songwriting, which you can click on to the sides, I hope. If you'd like to know more about the song Let Me Roll It, I did a cover of it. If you'd like to check out some of my original music and my original chord progressions, do so and let me know what you think about it. Thanks very much. See you later.